Absolutely. I think we have around 15 to 20 questions on trust, but Amit, Mahendra, Vaibhav, I have Ashok, Manish. I hope your questions around trust have been answered. I want to very quickly move to a next segment, which you briefly touched upon, Krish, which was on empathy, right? Difficult times, businesses need to reinvent their business models. They need to ensure that quarter on quarter, we are reviewing stuff that we are doing. But at the same time, there is this crazy amount of pressure on our people, and managers also end up cascading that pressure onto their team members. How does an individual who may be a performance manager or otherwise rise to the occasion to build in and bake in empathy into conversations while business pressure may still continue or maybe even higher than previous quarters? So how do you really build that thin line? I think so there are 6-7 questions on empathy. I've just tried to pick up the crux and not ask you multiple questions, but I think the essence is, where do you draw the line between saying business needs to be achieved without getting hampered, but empathy is still core?
Okay. Well, I think this is basic kind of counseling 101 in a way. Yeah. So frankly, what is empathy? Yeah, and empathy, and this also comes as really putting yourself in somebody's shoes. Yeah, understanding their problems. It's about just feeling that, seeing, okay, if somebody is going through a feeling of, okay, that there is a bit of disappointment or frustration, what are you doing is you're asking them about it, and you're feeling the same way. You're putting yourself saying, okay, what is it? So how do you build empathy? I think you got to build empathy by firstly being, if you go back to this whole model of EQ, yeah, and empathy is one of the parts of EQ. Now, EQ, if you really look at it, is basically a kind of a 2x2 matrix. Yeah, it's about what you can do for yourself and what you do with others. Yeah, it is what kind of emotions you experience and how do you manage emotions. That's what it is. So therefore just imagine a 2x2. So emotions that you experience and how do you manage those emotions. So those are the two boxes there, and for yourself and for others. So what is empathy? Empathy is about how do you experience the emotions of others, basically. So that is empathy. So you got to be open. You got to really look, listen, observe, be mindful. Then you understand what the other person is going through. Because unless you have that, you're tuned in to feel, you won't be able to respond. So that's there. You perceive the emotions of others. Then that's the first thing. And then you can start saying, how do you respond to it? Now, so therefore, what are the steps to build empathy? Is being observant, yeah, being observant, asking yourself, okay, what this person may be feeling, what could be the other issues, asking them, saying, how are you, what are you? Simple thing, there used to be those things in the past called check-in, saying, Sahil, how are you? What are you doing? How are things with you? Kind of a thing. That's just all. I mean, who knows, or somebody, in my earlier job in Philips, there used to be a nice kind of a thing we used to have. Which in sitting together in all meetings, we would say, okay, how are you feeling today? What feelings are going through? Talk about it. So before a meeting, we would talk about what feelings are going through, and that's great way to really bring out feelings and empathize. So simple thing. What is empathy? Empathy is to perceive the emotions of others, and to do that, you got to be observant. You got to ask questions. You got to listen to them much more. And see that, okay, there may be something behind it. If you build that in your mind, you'll be able to really perceive that. And once you perceive their emotions, then you can really do the next step, acting on them.
Sure, sure.